course, more common objections to this line of thinking is that the Zeitgeist movement is just repackaged Marxism, and it's going to turn into some technological tyranny. How is it different? How can it maintain people's agency, ownership, control over their lives while establishing a civil rights imperative?
Well, back to my prior point, there's that knee-jerk reaction to Marxism, which tends to happen by people that don't even know what Marxism is or was. They see that little encyclopedia blurb that they basically read in high school, and they think they understand what happened in that historical period of time. I'll address that one briefly. Anyone that says it's Marxism or communism needs to remember that communism and Marxism were based on a moral philosophy. Marx talked about a lot of things, some of it actually very cogent and proper and right. But he also proposed solutions that were very much erroneous and very unscientific. And if you read the Communist Manifesto by Marx and Engels, you'll find that it has absolutely no comparison to what the Zeitgeist movement promotes. The Zeitgeist movement, back to my original statement, it's about public health, it's about social sustainability, ecological sustainability, which is social sustainability, and social stability. And all of that, I would say, is really about social sustainability. And when you put this train of thought together, there's that term train of thought, you have a ground-up realization based on the evidence that exists of what actually makes a working society, what actually will assure future generations, which we, by the way, share the world with. We don't just share the world with the 7 billion people we have right now. We share the world with our kids and our grandkids. We have to keep that in mind. And the more we are irresponsible, the more it hurts everybody in the future, just as much as it hurts everybody right now. And this type of awareness has no resemblance to communism in any facet. It's just that knee-jerk reaction that people have. As far as the freedom neuroses, as far as the freedom neuroses that people have, that's a knee-jerk reaction, once again, to this propaganda of the market that says that people are free and they can achieve and they have infinite social mobility. First of all, you need to debunk the fact that there's no real freedom in the market complex whatsoever. It is structurally coercive. It is a coercive system that puts certain people in power in a completely dictatorial manner as a system consequence, a system orientation that deeply separates owners and workers. This is a core characteristic. And in that equation, there are very limited options the farther you go down on the stratified ladder. And if you're like the majority of people that exist in this lower platform, your freedom is so incredibly restricted, your health options are so incredibly restricted, and has been proven by statisticians, the ability for social elevation has been increasingly limited as time has moved forward, as this system has compounded itself. So I ask people that question, what freedom are they expecting? See, it's really a loss of creativity. They only know what they perceive and what they feel, and they've been brainwashed to think that walking into a store and choosing between 40 different types of cereal is freedom, while they have 2 political parties that pretty much ignore everything the public says to begin with. This isn't freedom, and I think when people research the movement, they're going to understand what true freedom actually means, and that's the freedom not to be held down to a slave job, which is what it is at this point in time. The vast majority of occupations in this world are not necessary and counterproductive to human health. And actually having freedom away from the property system, which is another point that we can talk about at a different point of this address, to actually have the freedom to get away from the property system and to move around and not have the liability of ownership. And that's a very radical term that is completely contrary to this consumption, materialistic, vanity-oriented society. But I really believe that the true freedom of our future will be not having property, not having ownership, having access. We promote an access society in the Zeitgeist movement where people have access to everything that they need, not hoarding property and value arbitrarily in this archaic system we have now, which is destroying the planet and human psychology.